Hello and welcome back to Dean's Talk. Today I'm going to be talking about GT4. I'm going to do a bit of a buyer's guide and everything you need to know really before you buy a GT4, specifically a 718 or 982. I spent most of last year looking at these. Whilst I had my A45, I kind of knew it's what I wanted. So I was studying the market, looking at specs and all that, and now I've owned it for 5 months. I'm just going to share some my experiences and things that maybe you should think about or you know, before you actually make the leap and purchase a GT4. So we're going to start with the outside and talk about a few of the options. So, options. I mean, specs can vary, and if you look at prices online, you're spending anywhere from kind of mid-60s on the low end up to £90,000 for a fairly new one and a high spec. Obviously they don't make these anymore, they've stopped production, so you know the earliest ones or the newest ones you'll probably get are going to be 23 plates. But this car is GT Silver. It was one of the special colours at the time. Obviously you can get the black, you can get the Guards red, the racing yellow, white. So there's a few different options. I love the GT Silver, but unless you're going to find a car with PTS, paint to sample, you're going to be looking at kind of the normal colours. But this car's about driving. It doesn't matter what colour it is too much. But obviously it's all subjective. Obviously this one's got the black wheels and the steel brakes. You can get obviously carbon ceramics. I kind of wish I had carbon ceramics, but it's not the end of the world because I can upgrade the pads on these. So I'm not really too fussed, but if you are going to be doing track days and such, then maybe the ceramics are probably a good idea. The lights, one of the main options as well. These are not the PDLS, the Porsche's dynamic light system. They're standard ones. To me, they're fine for me. I mean, I don't really drive my car at night that much. When I do, they do the job. So for me, it doesn't bother me at all. This car is a manual. Obviously, you've got manual or PDK. I mean, that's subjective. It's completely up to you what sort of driving experience you want. I love the manual. It's very fun. Sometimes when I'm you know, when I went to the Nürburgring and that, sometimes I wish I was in a PDK, but at the same time, it was a lot more to think about when driving, and I quite enjoyed that. But that's completely up to you, whether you want an auto or manual. If you want a more engaging drive, go for the manual. It's obviously the more route to go down. So, other than that, on the outside, there isn't really that many other options. If we come to the inside, this is where you can get, obviously, a Bose sound system. This one has a standard sound system, which is absolutely fine for me. Yeah, I didn't buy this car to listen to music. It is perfectly fine. I wouldn't worry too much if you're concerned that it's not going to be good enough. It is absolutely fine. If you're really into music and you want the best quality, then yes, obviously go for Bose. But I haven't experienced a Bose before, but reading online, I don't think it's all that. But anyway, the seats. So this car has the carbon buckets, which I think are a must. I think unless you're daily driving it and you don't plan on doing any sort of spirited driving, go for the comfort seats, you know. But these, they may look uncomfortable, but they're not. When you're in them, they are very comfortable and they hold you in well. So I would say if you're doing any sort of spirited driving, even 1 or 2 track days a year, just get the buckets. Obviously they fetch a little bit more of a premium over the comforts because they're about a £3,800 option from new. So inside, you can get a racing stripe here. That's an option. This car obviously doesn't have it, doesn't bother me too much. And the one thing that a lot of people talk about is the extended leather on the dash. This car doesn't have it. I don't really care about that. People say it's an important option. I don't know. Is it really? I don't think it is. The only other thing inside, really, the most important one is the Club Sport, which will give you the cage back here, and it also gives you a fire extinguisher down there. I don't have this. I mean, it would have been nice. It's really only for if you are going to be using the harnesses. Like, you know, if you're tracking it all the time, and you're going to be using the harnesses, that is really what you get that for, which I wouldn't mind. But the thing is finding the right car with the right spec is quite difficult. This, for me, had everything that I wanted. Manual gearbox, carbon buckets. That was like the main two things for me. But let's jump inside, we'll go for a drive, and touch on some of the other things that you should probably be aware of before buying a GT4. So, we talked about spec, kind of options and pricing. The main other thing to consider, obviously, is any common faults, any common issues with these cars. Now, you know, you can do a bit of research online, and you'll find multiple faults, you know. Not necessarily common, but obviously every car has its problems. But the main one that I want to talk to you about really is the pattern fault. So the pattern fault is Porsche's active dynamic mount, and basically what it is the mounts tend to fail, and it's very, very, very common on pretty much anything before 2023. Apparently they revised the mount in 2023, so but then those cars are obviously more expensive, there's less of them. But the main point is make sure you've got some warranty. When you're buying one of these, just make sure you've got some warranty. Even if you are buying it from a specialist or an independent dealer, there's nothing wrong with buying a car from them. I bought this car from a small dealer, like an independent dealer that sells a few sports cars here and there. I only got 3 months warranty with it. Thankfully, both of my mounts went within 3 months, so I got both of them covered. But if I didn't, it would have been basically a £3 bill. So yeah, I would say just when you buy one of these cars, they are amazing. In general, they are reliable. But I think to have that peace of mind, I would say definitely find yourself one with warranty. If I could go back and do it again, I probably would have tried to actually get one from Porsche directly, one of their approved used. I did want to. The problem is finding the right spec, the right price, etc., etc. Obviously, when you buy from a main dealer, you have to pay some of that, what they call, you know, Porsche tax. You know, you have to pay a bit of a premium over, say, one that you find at an independent dealer, purely because obviously you're getting that 2-year warranty. You know, in hindsight, that would have been nice. It would have been nice to have that 2-year warranty, definitely. But like I said, one of the most common faults that happens on these has happened to me within the first 3 months of having it. So I got very lucky, but you know, don't risk that. Obviously, just make sure that you've got, you know, some warranty. Obviously, buying it privately, if you buy it with someone private, they might have some main dealer warranty. But yeah, I wouldn't. I think if they didn't, I wouldn't buy one from a direct private seller. I would want to be buying it from a garage where you can get some cover there. But yeah, there's other faults, but that's the one that you see a lot that happens. It's quite common on these. Which leads me to another thing is I think when you're looking at one of these cars, try and get one that's been driven consistently. It doesn't necessarily have to be high miles, even though they say, you know, a lot of Porsche specialists say that a car of high miles, you know, is a good thing. But you need one that's been driven consistently. And what I mean by that is, where I bought this car from, it had been sitting at the dealer for about 8 months. I didn't realise it had been that long, but it had been sitting there for about 8 months. And I don't think it's a coincidence that, you know, it had been sitting there. I took it, the pattern fault came up. Obviously the battery was low, but that was just because it had been sitting there. Let's load this out for a little drive. I just think I would personally, if I could go back again, hindsight's a wonderful thing, I would buy one that has only recently come into stock, or like I said, it's just, you know, it's been driven consistently. It's not been sitting at the dealership for months. If it has, that's fine, but that's where again you need to have that warranty. You know, if you buy from a Porsche dealer, you'll get the 2 years, so it'll give you a bit more peace of mind. But yeah, I just think that these cars are meant to be driven, and like I said, you don't need a high mileage car, but one that has been driven a consistent amount of time, you know, once a week, a couple times a month, whatever, even if it is low mileage. I just think they've run better. People say that all the time, but I don't think that's a myth. I think that's fact. I think you want a car that has been driven, because you are 100% less likely to get any niggly problems. But yeah, I mean, other than that, they're kind of the main points. Obviously there's other stuff you can delve into, but really just do your research, find the options you want, and just go for it. Buy one. They're amazing cars, and you absolutely will not regret it. But thanks for tuning into another video. I hope this helped anyone that's potentially looking at buying a GT4. But please subscribe, give me a like, comment below if there's anything I missed that maybe you think I should have mentioned in the video. But yeah, I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.